Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona, he's Mike Beer, and we're taking a look at some of the undercard action on Preakness Saturday at Pimlico. And we are here live at Pimlico at the moment before the races start on Thursday, so apologies for some of the noise you might hear on the background. But Mike and I are going to try to go through handicapping of race 11, the James W. Murphy, a 1 mile turf event for the 3-year-olds, and a race you definitely want to take a look at as part of this late pick 5 sequence at Pimlico on Saturday. And you can do your handicapping at shop.drf.tv. Check out all of the handicapping plans that we've got on offer. All access PPs, Classic, Timeform US, Formulator. Do a deep dive into this Preakness card on Saturday because there are a ton of really fascinating races to handicap, including this James W. Murphy, Mike. And we've got 10 runners entered in this one. The number 3 Clock Tower looks like a horse that's going to appreciate a slight drop in class. He's coming out of the same race as the number 7 Reagan's Wit. Both competed in the Transylvania last time, and I think they're getting some class relief in this spot.
I do too. It's a much better spot for both of them, and I suspect they'll be the 2 favorites in here come post time, David. Seems like Reagan's Wit has a little bit of a following. They really bet this horse in the Transylvania last time. He didn't run that well, in my opinion, but this is a better spot for him.
And I mentioned Clock Tower first because he's the horse that figures to be in control of this race from a pace standpoint. We'll take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this James W. Murphy, Mike. And while it's predicting a fast pace, I think that Clock Tower is going to be quick enough to make the front in this field. Wesley Ward has been pretty explicit, if you read the pre-race quotes in DRF for this race, that he thinks this horse really needs the lead to be effective. They've rated him a couple of times recently, sort of out of necessity, just given the races he's been in. But if they get back to front-running tactics, I think he's going to be quick enough to make the lead.
I do too. I felt like he was the main pace player in here, and if they just go to the front in this race, it seems like it's his best chance to win anyway. And I just feel like this is the kind of situation for them where they just got to go to the front and see what happens.
Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1 Twain, who won his debut at Laurel just last month, going the 5.5 furlong distance on the turf, Mike. This horse was way back in the early stages, wasn't even in the camera picture for a long time, but finally rushes past the leaders at the end. I will say the horse that led the field into deep stretch that day was getting very tired, so it helped Twain make up all that ground in the late stages. He's got pedigree to stretch out, though.
Yeah, when I watched that race, I was thinking the same thing. I couldn't tell if Twain really finished or if the horse that was on lead was just really tired. But I guess both things can be true. I mean, this horse really did run at the end of the race. I like the way he finished it off. As you've pointed out, the pedigree is there for him to handle more distance. Up in class, out in distance. Not going to be easy for him to win here, David, but I could see if at a big price, I could see throwing him in there somewhere.
Yeah, he's got a lot to prove, but he's going to be a big price in this race. The number 2 Mission Artemis is also going to be a major long shot in this James W. Murphy. He did win his turf debut last time, but that was against $40,000 claimers. Really wasn't beating much that day, was bet down to favoritism despite the fact that he didn't have much form coming into that race, Mike. And also, he got loose on a really easy early lead, and that's not going to happen here with Clock Tower in the race.
Exactly. You can't get that trip in here. He didn't run a fast race anyway, even with a really soft trip in that race. He just looks like he's in over his head.
The number 3 is Clock Tower, that horse that figures to go forward from the starting gate. And Mike, he was very successful using that style during his 2-year-old season, won the Grade 3 Cecil B. DeMille when they shipped him out to Del Mar, even ran deceptively well in the Bourbon last fall at Keeneland. They tried dirt in a Derby prep earlier this year. That clearly didn't work out for him. They went back to turf last time in the Transylvania, and he was facing a really fast horse in that spot, Mibago, who just runs off on the front end, and he was put in that difficult position chasing a horse that's going a little bit too fast up front. He paid the price late, but he feels like one that could appreciate this slight turn back to a mile.
I like him going a little shorter. This is just a way better spot for him too, because it does kind of feel like he could be in control of this pace early, which just makes him dangerous. I liked his 2-year-old races quite a bit. I thought he ran fine in the Transylvania last time. I mean, when I compare his running line to Reagan's Wit's running line in there, and I know Reagan's Wit finished 3 or 4 lengths ahead of him, I'm not so sure the Clock Tower didn't run at least as well as that horse did.
The number 4 Barbadian runner is one of the more experienced runners in this race, but most of that experience has come on the dirt, and he has been really improving on that surface over his past several starts. He's the only horse to have beaten Paid Billy during that horse's string of 5 really good races, and he'll be a horse that attracts some support in the Preakness on Saturday. And Barbadian runner, Mike, tried the turf one time during his 2-year-old season and didn't get much of a speed figure, finished 3rd in that race, but he did have a bit of a trip on that occasion.
He didn't have a great trip in that race, and he was passing horses at the end of that spot. We'll see if this race sets up well enough for him. I don't expect him to be that far back this time. I just also not sure he's good enough to beat these horses.
The number 5, End of Romance, is one of a couple of Graham Motion trainees that's drawn right in the middle of this field. Mike, this horse has a big pedigree. He is a half to the globe-trotting superstar, Romantic Warrior, whose owner earned $27 million winning Group 1s on multiple continents. This horse has a lot to prove to live up to that kind of pedigree, but he is at least taking steps forward with each and every start, particularly in the 2 U.S. races so far. He was just kind of one-paced in the rushaway on Synth 2 back, but they put him in the Woodhaven last time. He got rolling at the end, but a little bit too late, was picking up pieces. He's going to have to get that run started earlier here.
Yeah, exactly. I can get past his pedigree at this point. I've already seen enough of this horse. I just don't really like him that much, David. I don't know. I mean, his form over in England I thought was fine last year, but I didn't think it was great. I don't really like either of his races over here. The Woodhaven last time, yeah, he was making up ground late, but so was everybody else in that race.
The number 6 Soleil Volant, the other Graham Motion horse coming into this race, another one that's been improving through his recent races, Mike, and the improvement has been a little bit deceptive because he's been running in some tough spots against older horses the last couple of times. Kind of strange for Graham Motion to run this 3-year-old against older rivals going all the way back to February. They tried to go 1.25 miles with him at Turfway, ran decently in that spot. Then they got back to turf last time at Laurel against a field of older horses. He was beaten by 4- and 5-year-olds. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race, and he's kind of staying on at one pace at the end. Never really looks like he's getting there, but I think he was facing some decent competition.
Yeah, I do too. That's kind of been his MO so far too. He just doesn't seem like he has that much acceleration to him, which I don't like about him that much. I do think this is a decent spot for this horse though to try stakes company. I'm not convinced that he's that good, but if he wound up drifting and he was some kind of interesting price, I could use it.
Even with Flavian Pratt aboard, I think this horse is going to drift up a little bit because there's nothing in his performances that really sucks people in. The number 7 Reagan's Wit is a horse that could take a lot of money in this race, Mike. He was very popular with the bettors last time in the Transylvania, which looked like a super competitive race on paper, but they only wanted this horse. They pounded him down to 9-5. And I don't know, Mike, we'll take a look at the stretch run of the race. We'll pick it up at the top of the stretch where he's getting into position. He had gotten a good trip prior to this, and he just lacked a little finish for me.
Just didn't think that he ran that well in this race. I mean, you don't have to hold it against him. We already talked about how the Transylvania was a really tough race, and this one is obviously easier for him. I thought his Columbia, the race at Tampa 2-back, I thought he ran well that day. When he broke his maiden, he was visually impressive, but he had a great trip in that race too. They were flying in front of him and he came running. I could go either way on this horse, David, but if he's a really short price again in this race, I'll probably bet against him.
And he was right there with Zulu Kingdom at the end of the Columbia 2-back, and that is obviously a very nice turf horse for Chad Brown, but he got a better trip than Zulu Kingdom in that race, so I don't want to give him too much credit. The number 8, Curahee, is a horse that's coming back since his first start since March, where he was 4th in the Black Gold at Fairgrounds and was contesting the pace between horses in that spot, couldn't quite see out the distance at the very end of the race, Mike. He's been beaten by a horse named Chasing Liberty a couple times in a row. That's a horse that if he were competing here would definitely be one of the contenders, but I think that Curahee might not be quite as good as that, though.
I feel the same way about it. I mean, every one of his turf races is fine, but they're not great. I'm not sure how good this horse actually is, and he's another one, too. He goes out for sort of popular connections. He's got stakes credentials. He could take money in here, and I just would never take a short price on him.
Mike, I'm really intrigued to see what we get from the number 9, Stormy Flight, because I know he doesn't look so competitive based on speed figures, but those are all 2-year-old races, and we know that 2-year-olds can get a lot faster from their juvenile to sophomore seasons. And we'll take a look at the stretch run of his race 2-back, going the 5.5 furlong distance at Laurel, where he made it 2 for 2 on the turf. And Mike, this horse looked like he was lugging in, was a little green, even though this was his second turf start. He was having trouble finding a clear path. He eventually comes between horses at the end, but he really finishes off this race impressively once he finally gets there. His maiden win was really impressive because he just made this really impressive, quick turn of foot move off the far turn to put that field away and win going away at the end. And he's got some pedigree to go longer.
I agree. I loved his maiden win. I think he was really impressive winning. He was better than, I know you see 3-5, you win by a nose and you're like, maybe he wasn't that good. He was real good in that replay that we just watched too. He's a super interesting horse in here if this is where they decide to run him. They did enter him also in an allowance sprint race on the Friday card, but he's AE in there. If they decide to run him here, he's an interesting horse.
And he's got the kind of work tab that suggests he might have the bottom to go this far because they've got a bunch of 6 and 7 furlong workouts into him, so maybe this wouldn't be the worst spot to try. The same ownership group that sent out Stormy Flight has also entered Studlydoright in this race for a different trainer. Mike, this horse, we've seen him through the Kentucky Derby preps, going back to last year, some of the stakes events on the dirt. He's just kind of one-paced. He runs along, never really threatens. He has put forth a couple of big speed figures in his career in the Sanford and the Nashua, but it's been a little while since he's run some of those races. Now they're trying the turf. There is some pedigree, but watching him run, I don't know if I really ever view him as a turf horse.
Yeah, me either. And I listen, you're right. There is some pedigree, and I guess you might as well try it because, at least in my opinion, he has no future as a stakes horse on dirt. So I guess you might as well try it on turf and see what happens.
Well, Mike, where'd you land in this James W. Murphy?
You know, I'm chalking it out here. I do feel like Reagan's Wit and Clock Tower will be the two favorites in here, but I do think they're going to go for Reagan's Wit again, and I don't like him as much as I like Clock Tower. I'm taking Clock Tower.
I agree. I could see Reagan's Wit being a very short price in this race, and I don't think he has to win this spot. I've got Clock Tower in there, but I'm pretty intrigued by the number 9 Stormy Flight. If they do end up running in this race, I think this horse has the upside to bridge that gap from his 2-year-old form to what he needs to run as a 3-year-old, and I just think that this horse might be better than people give him credit for on the turf. So the number 9 Stormy Flight for me and the number 3 Clock Tower for Mike in race 11 at Pimlico on Preakness Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.